Mark Epstein here, as far as talking about Lesson 2, the iTouch map lesson. And this wall map behind me, as far as the world, is a really good backdrop as far as preparation. And on this lesson, basically, we're talking about the geospatial tool of being able to use the Google interface to determine latitude and longitude. So one of the things you may want to do to discuss with your students as far as on the coordinate system is the idea that latitude and longitude is based upon angles as far as from the center of the earth, and then in a two-dimensional world it's basically the XY coordinates. And you can talk about how the dominant way to describe latitude and longitude had been degrees, minutes, and seconds, but with the computer digital age is that the decimal system became more dominant, and that the way that the computers use latitude and longitude is using algebra, X and Y, of the quadrants, and that's the logic of your negatives and positives. So as far as on that. Also, this lesson, one of the things you may find is of the ability of your students to find the locations from the above view. You might find a gender difference between the girls and the boys. One of the things that we have recently determined is that in the brains of the boys, that the spatial centers of the brain develop in the range of ages 14 through 16, whereas in girls those same centers don't develop until 18 to 20. And there also is some differences, but the big thing is that the boys, their brains starting at 14 are much more capable of the three-dimensional thinking and being able to recognize things at different angles than the girls do. So that may have some impact as far as the ability and as far as between the girls and boys of how they conduct this exercise. One of the things, as far as one of the first things they use, that tool that we ask is to use the drag the pin method, and a lot of them in the video, having learned that they can type in the address, will decide if they want to do the address rather than dragging the pin. And again, in this exercise, you'll see that there's a comparison between the drag and the pin and putting in the address of their houses. So that's one thing. The other thing is that they will probably very quickly discover the Street View tool. And one of the problems with the Street View tool is, well, there's actually two problems. The first is they can get lost in the Street View. And depending on what you want to set as far as your time in classroom on doing the exercise, they can get lost and not get it done. The other thing is the Street View will not show latitude and longitude. So I urge you to try to keep your kids focused on using the view from above rather than using that street view at all. They can play with it and such. And actually, the girls will be more apt to go for the street view than to from above. One of the things, depending on the age of your kids, that I find is that their skills to know where they are and where to find their houses and things have really declined over the past decade. We have found, as far as the middle school level, we've got a lot of kids that don't even know their address. So as far as on that, given that the pin when you start is centered in as far as at 0, 0, you might say, okay, use the address bar just for the name of your city, so they get close in. And then they can drag the pin, zooming in and out, of finding where the homes are. So that's some of the tips as far as on that you need to be aware of. This is a short exercise for most students. I would say that 30 minutes is probably what it's going to take. Now, one of the questions as far as dealing with if given a point of latitude and longitude, we've reworded, revised, and the point we're trying to make is that the two methods are to find a point where you plug in the latitude and longitude, or you can plug the latitude and longitude into that address bar. And one of the reasons we want to do this is a discussion as far as with navigation devices. Navigation devices, I mean, your GPS coordinates will always be right, but when you put an address to search for it, it's only as good as that GIS computer chip. So if you happen to know the latitude and longitude of the location there, you're going to and want the assistance of using the navigation device. That's a certain way. I've many times using a navigation device, put in an address, and if it's a road that's split without being in town, completely going through, it many times will give me the wrong side of town. So this opens the door to discussion of the accuracy of navigation devices and what navigation devices are actually useful for. So have your kids at it, and I think this will be an exercise that they will enjoy, the visuals and looking for places. So enjoy.